Hi guys. So today's video is going to be Lowlights of Living with Autism, part 1 of 3, following on last week's highlight video. The reason I'm doing 3 videos is because there's a lot of ground to cover, and I don't want to make one big long video. I feel like no one's going to watch that. So before I dive into lowlights, I just want to briefly touch on the fact that not everything is good or bad. Some behaviors in autism, for me, are just neutral. I like to count things, organize things, make lists, check things off. I do a lot of that all the time. I count the pieces of laundry as they go in the washing machine. I consider that a neutral behavior because it's not impairing me, it's not causing me anxiety, it's not causing problems with people around me. It's just a thing that I do. So with that, I'm going to dive into some lowlights. Today I'm going to talk about social skills deficits and theory of mind, which are very connected. And I'm going to touch upon executive functions, and I will visit that more again next week. So, social skills deficits. In the high functioning end of the spectrum, there are no speech or language deficits. I urge you to Google the difference between speech and language. Basically, speech is the physical ability to make the sounds, and language is using and this is a weird angle. Sorry, guys. There you go. Language is using and understanding the words. So I spoke on time. I never needed speech therapy. Never had deficits. Although I could benefit from speech therapy, probably it's a little slurred. And my language skills are great. I'm a very good English student. I read a lot religiously. So my language and speech skills are great. My social skills deficits are of the nonverbal, unspoken rules variety. I would say the two big things, and I can go into this in more depth if people would like, but the two big things are not always knowing the appropriate thing to say and not always being able to read people. A lot is conveyed through body language and facial expressions and tone of voice. And if I'm missing parts of that or not understanding it at all, it can completely change what the person's saying to me. I can think people are mad at me when they're not, which is very common actually. I tend to think people are mad when they're not. And not knowing what to say. A good example of that would be when I got sent to the office in grade 9 for calling the teacher bald, and I didn't understand that because it's a fact, he was bald. But I learned that I can't do that, and I filed it away, to paraphrase Temple Grandin. And through the years of filing away these rules and social skill rules, I've developed the ability to basically carry on small talk and simple conversations. And if you're familiar with the spectrum, you might still pick up on it. If you're not familiar with it, you wouldn't know from brief encounters with me. Because I've gotten good enough at knowing, I don't talk about politics, things that are controversial. I stick with the other person's subject instead of going off on one-sided rants. I'll stick to very general things like the weather. I've learned these things over the years. However, when it gets more in depth, like retaining friends, I should say, that's harder. I'm getting better at it. I'm learning as I go along. I have 2 friends right now. One's on the spectrum and one's not, but works in special ed. So probably that helps a lot. These are people that understand and are patient and understanding with me. And I don't always say things the right way or say something I shouldn't, so I'm very lucky. I've never had an intimate partner, and sometimes I think I would like that. Sometimes that sounds like a lot of work. So I don't know about that yet. But what else can I say about social skills deficits? I'm very literal. I'm very, very bad at inferring things. If you want me to sweep the floor, tell me to sweep the floor. In a nutshell. I'm very bad at inferring things. Even though I'm picking up on many details in my surroundings, I'm not reading between the lines. I'm just seeing what's there. And that can be an issue in the workplace when I've been accused of being inattentive or not doing what I'm supposed to do because I didn't pick up on something that needed doing. But that's improving like many areas and probably will continue my whole life. So I'm going to go with the second thing I want to discuss today was theory of mind. Theory of mind is the ability to understand that other people have different feelings and emotions and thoughts than you, and my children are usually have that. Sorry, that was a horrible sentence. Children usually have that skill developed by about the age of 6. I would say my theory of mind is incomplete. And sometimes I don't put myself in other people's shoes. Sometimes I find out someone does something very differently than I do, and it's jarring. So what I have to sometimes do is actually stop myself and say, if someone said this to me, if someone said that to me, how would I feel? And that's because it might sound like a great idea to say or do what I'm thinking, but that's why I have to I have to really stop and really hard think about how would this go the other way around. Which I think I'm under the impression that that comes more naturally to other people. And for me, that's a lot of work. And I think that's probably partly why I have such a hard time reading people, because I have no context or little context for what they might be thinking or conveying, because I have a hard time getting in their head. And I think theory of mind also has impeded friendships, because I want to do or say something, and I don't understand what the other person's problem is, when it's actually me with the problem. So that's theory of mind. And the last thing I'm going to touch on just a little bit is executive functions. Executive functions, I urge you to go to Google and get a good definition, but they all have to do with planning and completing tasks and staying on task, basically. And for me, the one I'm going to discuss right now, I have very poor working memory. If you give me a list of instructions, you know, you better write it down, or I should write it down, because I might remember the first 2 things you said and then walk off and forget the rest. And when I'm learning a new task at work, it can take me a lot longer than other people, because it takes a lot longer for that to become ingrained. And I don't really know why that is. And it really throws people, because I seem so intelligent and I can remember, like, when some random celebrity's kids were born, but I can't remember 5 seconds ago that you asked me to cut a banana. People have a very hard time with this one. And it's very hard in the workplace when it takes me 5 times longer to do something, when it takes me so much longer to learn something. And I guess I have time for one more thing in terms of executive functioning, which is impulse control. This has gotten a lot better as an adult. It was very much a childhood problem I had. I think that was why I was diagnosed with ADHD incorrectly, because I would just yell things out in class because I thought of it. And then afterwards I was like, shouldn't have done that. And that's gotten better as an adult. And they say part of executive functioning is organization and planning. And for me, oddly, that's actually a strength. I have everything written down, planned out, lists made, organized like 2 months ahead. So for me, that's actually a strength, not a deficit. I just want to refer to something here. Sorry, I know I have my phone in my face. Yeah, okay, so the last area of executive functioning that I'm going to discuss tonight talks about initiating tasks. And, sorry, I got a thing here. When I was in school, if you gave me an assignment, I would often just look at it and go, I don't know what to do with this. And other people would have to sit with me and say, first do this, then do that. And once again, that's definitely improved as I've gotten older. But I still do forget to get things done because I never thought of it. So I'm definitely much better at initiating tasks. But yeah, I still need prompting from time to time. That's still definitely a deficit. And we're over 9 minutes now. So I'm going to wrap up for today. And I'm going to pick up next week, sort of still within that executive functioning area. I'm going to talk about inflexibility, routines, change, and a couple other things as well next week. So I'll pick up as much as possible. I'll pick up from this next week. I feel like my speech is not great tonight. I don't know why. Maybe I'm tired. So thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for watching.